Good evening, everyone, and we are the Group 1. Uh, our topic is all about the ecosystem and its level of organization. The lesson objective for this topic is all about understanding the levels of belongingness in an ecosystem and identify the biotic and abiotic in an ecosystem. Ecosystem and the level of organization. Levels of organization in ecosystem includes the individual population, community, ecosystem, the biome, and the biosphere. Living entities are highly structured and organized than any other species. They follow a hierarchy that can be easily studied on a scale from the smallest to the largest. Each and every level of an organization play a significant role in development. Now, we have the individuals. Individual is any single living.
The organism is an individual living being that has the ability to act or function independently. It may be a plant, animal and bacterium, fungi, and etc.
While the population is all of the organism of the same species in the same place at the same time.
Population is a group of organisms, usually of the same species, occupying a defined area during a specific time. The main limiting factors for the growth of a population are abiotic and biotic components.
The community is all about population in the same place at the same time.
The term community, or more appropriately biotic community, refers to a population of different kinds of organisms living together and sharing the same habitat. The characteristic pattern of the community is termed as the structure of the community and is determined by the rules played by its various population, the range of its various population, the type of area that is inhabited by the population of the community, the diverse of species in the community, and the interaction between various population of the community inhabiting the area. Members of a community also actively interact with their environment. In a community, only those plants and animals survive which are adapted to particular environment. The climate determines the type of environment, hence the type of organism in a community. For example, it is the climate of the area which determines whether a given or area becomes a desert or a forest. Communities created by humans such as lawns or crops community are such man-made communication. Our crop communities are relatively simple and consist of only one species as opposed to a natural community characterized by a large number of species.
While the ecosystem is the reaction between living and non-living components in a given area.
An ecosystem is defined as a structural and functional unit of biosphere consisting of a community of living beings and the physical environment, both interacting and exchanging materials between them. The term ecosystem was combined by A.G. Trancy in 1935. An ecosystem is a functional unit of nature encompassing complex interaction between its biotic and abiotic components. For example, a pond is a good example of an ecosystem. Ecosystems vary greatly in size and elements, but each is functioning unit of nature. Everything that lives in an ecosystem is dependent on the other species and element that are also part of that ecological community. If one part of an ecosystem is damaged or disappears, it has an impact on everything else. The ecosystem can be as small as a single tree or as large as an entire forest.
Now, we have the biome. Biome, in other simple terms, is a set of ecosystems sharing characteristics with their abiotic factors adapted to their environments.
The terrestrial part of the biosphere is divisible in numerous regions called biomes, which are characterized by climate, vegetation, animal life, and general soil type. No two biomes are alike. The climate determines the boundaries of the biome and abundance of plants and animals found in each one of them. The most important climatic factors are temperature and precipitation.
In a biosphere, is made up of the part of the earth where life exists, all ecosystem. Biosphere extended from the deepest root system of trees and the dark environment of ocean trenches and high mountain tops.
Biosphere represents a highly integrated and interacting zone comprising at the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. It is a narrow layer around the surface of the Earth. If we visualize the Earth to be the size of an apple, the biosphere would be as thick as its skin. The biosphere is absent at the extreme of the north and south poles, the highest mountain and the deepest ocean, since existing hostile conditions there do not support life. Occasionally, spores of fungi and bacteria do occur at a great height beyond 8,000 meters, but they are not metabolically active and hence represent only dormant life. Living organisms are not uniformly distributed throughout the biosphere. Only a few organisms live in the polar region, while the tropical rainforests have an exceedingly rich diversity of plants and animals.
So, biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic and abiotic are two essential factors responsible for shaping the ecosystem. These affect the survival and reproduction process. Both of these components are reliant on each other. Suppose if one of the factors is removed or altered, its repercussions will be faced by the entire ecosystem. Without a dog, abiotic factors directly affect the survival or of the organism. In short, both abiotic and biotic components together take an important part in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. So, meaning the two factors are extremely important for our ecosystem because these factors have a specific role to our ecosystem. And to know more about the biotic and abiotic factors, this chart will tell you the differences and the similarities of the two factors. First, we are going to tackle about the biotic factor. So number 1, it refers to all the living components present in the ecosystem from animals and humans to plant, fungi, and bacteria. So number 1, biotic factors are all living components, meaning biotic factor is a kind of factor that has a lifespan or have lives. Number 2, they are dependent on abiotic components or their survival and reproduction. So they are dependent to abiotic factors because as what I've said earlier, that the biotic factors are the living components. And as a living components, you need something to survive, and that is the help of the abiotic factors. Number 3, they have the special ability to adapt to changes in the environment. Living things or components can adapt in any environment if there is a support for the abiotic factors or from the abiotic factors. But then, not all living components will survive any longer because some of this has its own comfort of living. Number 4, it also helps to determine the type of abiotic factors that can be found in the ecosystem. So when there is abiotic factors in the ecosystem, there are also an abiotic factors. Number 5, its measurement is subjective. So meaning the measurement of the biotic factors has its criteria based on the physical or the appearance of the components. Example of that is the elephant. So we all know that the sizes of an elephant are very big. And that is the criteria or that is the sizes or the measurement of an elephant. Number 6, biotic factors can affect an individual of a species, population, community, biosphere, and also the biome. So the biotic factors has an impact or changes in the environment or in the ecosystem. So the second factor is the abiotic factors. So number 1, it refers to all non-living components present in the ecosystem. So as the biotic factors being the living components, the abiotic factors are the non-living components, which means they don't have lives and meaning there are no lives involved in this factor. Number 2, These are not dependent on the abiotic components for their survival. So the abiotic factor can survive on its own without the help of the abiotic factors because the abiotic factors are non-living things. And if you are non-living, or if the factor, the components has no lives, then there's no need for them to have a support to any factors. Number 3, cannot adapt to changes in the environment. So not just like the biotic factors that can adapt in the environment, the abiotic factors cannot adapt because they cannot adapt the changes of the environment because it refers to its own, meaning the abiotic factors has its own changes, but they don't survive in the adaptations of the environment. So the number 4 is it helps in determining the type of biotic factors that can be found in the ecosystem. So just like the biotic factors, you can determine an abiotic factors in the environment if you can see, or you can have the components, or you can tell the components as the abiotic factors. So the number 5 is its measurement is objective. So while the biotic factors being subjective, the abiotic factors are objective, meaning it has its own criteria. We cannot measure the sizes of the abiotic factors because of its own criteria, while the water being so big, or being having a broad water, we cannot measure that kind of water or that kind of component. That's why the abiotic factors are objective. So the last one is abiotic factor can affect an individual of a species, population, community, and biosphere as well. So just like the biotic factors,
Broadly, there are three categories of abiotic factors. The first one is the climatic factors are components such as the water, sunlight, climate, and temperature. For organisms that
Live in the
the water, sound, and waves type, water clarity, sunlight, and exposure and pressure are also considered abiotic factors. Living organisms can take advantage of abiotic factors.
All these factors are needed in optimal quantities for the proper growth and functioning of the organism. The climatic factors are non-living factors which are responsible for determining the climate condition of an area. Edaphic. Edaphic comes from the Greek word edaphos, which means floor. The topography of the land, such as elevation, mountains, valley, depression, and slope, all contribute to the characteristic of an ecosystem. Edaphic is related to or caused by particular soil condition as of texture or drainage, rather than by sociographic or climatic factors. It also relates to the physical and chemical condition of the soil, especially in relation to the plant and animal life and support. In topography, it is the physical appearance of the natural feature of an area of land, especially the shape of its surface or natural feature of the land.
My topic is about social. Social abiotic factors describe how human activity can impact the land and resources in the area. Uh, Humans have also learned how to intentionally alter the abiotic factors of the environment. For instance, every time you turn the air conditioning or sprinkle salt on a road to help snow melt, you are changing abiotic factors. Number 2, humans have impact on many features of an ecosystem, but factors are most likely to cause to large scale change. Uh, Impacts from human activity on land and in the water can influence ecosystem profoundly. Climate change, ocean acidification, permafrost melting, habitat loss, eutrophication, stormwater runoff, air population, containments, and invasive species are among many problems facing ecosystems. Number 3. Thus, they can have profound impacts on other abiotic factors. Biotic factors, entire ecosystem, and even entire biomes. Biotic factors include animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, and protists. Some examples of abiotic factors are water, soil, air, sunlight, temperature, and minerals. An entire ecosystem is a geographic area where plants, and other organisms, as well as weather and landscapes work together to form a battle, a battle of life. From a bubble of life, there are five major types of interbiomes: aquatic, grassland, forest, desert, and tundra. Through some of these biomes can be further divided into more specific categories, such as freshwater, marine, savanna, tropical rainforest, temperature rainforest, and taiga. Aquatic biomes include both freshwater and marines biomes. Biomes. That's all and thank you.